He was called wicked and lazy. Why was he called wicked and lazy? Because doing nothing with what you were given insults the giver. Hey everybody, Dr. Martin Williams here. So excited for this because I want to make sure that the code to living your life, this developing and deploying yourself, is very important. There's nothing else like it. And that's what I do. And I want to do that for you in this particular session. This particular session is going to change your life. Are you ready? When you have faith, but there's no skill, you're now creating a dependency. You have faith without skill. Now you're becoming dependent. There's no dominion here. This is not dominion, it's dependency. And now your faith has to be essential to what happens next. But faith is not a substitute for development. Just because I believe does not mean I'm getting ready to become a steward. That's not how it happens. I have to develop my stewardship. Many believers were taught prayer instead of planning. I'm going to pray. I'm not necessarily going to plan. Give instead of learning. So Christians, believers will give. They'll give money. They'll give time. They'll give that away, but they're not paying attention to learning what they should learn to go ahead in their life. They believe in waiting instead of building. I'm just going to wait on God, or wait for the door to open, or wait for this to happen, or wait for someone to invite me. But that's not what the king teaches. There are kingdom truths about money. I'm talking to the billions of Christians around the world that are trying to figure out why, if I love God, I am so broke. We need to know. Also in Matthew 25, the servant who hid the talent was not called immoral. Just because God gave me one, I didn't know what to do with it, so I buried it. I didn't take it to the bank. I didn't go ask for advice from someone who's done it before. I didn't join a group. I didn't join a mastermind. I did not use part of that to hire a coach. I didn't do that. I buried it. The servant who hid the talent wasn't called immoral. You want to know what he was called? He was called wicked and lazy. I'm not going to ask you that question. Well, maybe I am. Are you wicked or lazy, or simply ignorant? You're learning something today that's going to lead you into a different, better, amazing life. He was called wicked and lazy. Why was he called wicked and lazy? Because doing nothing with what you were given insults the giver. You have a friend that wants to do something, and he or she wants you to give. So you give, you invest, you come back a month, a week, a year later, and you say, hey, what happened with the money I gave you, with the time I gave you, the land, the building, the house, the business, right? And they say, oh, I did nothing with it. It's just sitting there. How would you feel? How would you feel if you did that? Gave it to someone and they did nothing with it at all. You would also feel like, wow, that's wicked. That is evil. That what you've done with something I could have been using, I could have been growing, I could have put it in the hands of someone else who were good stewards, but I took a chance on you. Faith that avoids skill produces dependency. And many of us are dependent, and it's time for you to become interdependent upon God, not independent, interdependent. That's where the amazing things happen. Now we have to break dependency, and faith that embraces skill produces dominion. God never blessed what you refuse to develop. I cannot by any way, shape, form, or fashion expect God to bless the nothingness that I've created. He has nothing to bless. He has no system to put his systems in. He has no jar to put the oil in. There are no trenches being dug in the wilderness so he could fill them with water. I have to create that. I have to become a steward. The number one thing in your life should be learning how to steward what belongs to God. When we do that, that's when life changes. He doesn't bless what you refuse to develop. God funds managers, not beggars. This is where theology has to mature. What you know about God has to mature. God is not moved by need. God is moved by alignment. The master did not return to see who needed more. He returned to see who managed well. He came not to just say, hey, let's do something else. He came to check on what they'd done with what he gave them last. Increase followed evidence. So if God funded need alone, the poorest would always lead the economy. The poorest people would. But that's not how he works. God funds trustworthy systems and the people who run them. God does not fund prayers. He funds managers. When you're a manager, you get funding. That's the way this works. Stewardship is proof of maturity. Stewardship is not about money, it's about trust. Money is simply the test environment for it. Jesus would say things like, if you have not been faithful in what is another man's, if you've not been faithful in what is another man's, who will give you what is your own? If I've not been faithful with a job for someone else, who's going to be faithful to me in my business? I have to be faithful there. Nothing you touch on earth is truly yours. It is just levels of stewardship. It's entrusted. So how you manage what's entrusted to you determines whether heaven expands your influence. Stewardship is heaven's way of measuring readiness. Put it in the chat. Are you ready? Are you ready? If you say, yes, I'm ready, then tell me what you're ready for. What are you ready for? What have you done? What are the numbers? What's been created through your stewardship? You need to know all of that. Because poverty is not a spiritual state. Poverty is not a spiritual state. It is a management condition. This is where thinking must really be corrected. Carefully thought through boldly. Because poverty is not holiness. Vow of poverty. Why would you take a vow of poverty? What does it prove? Your father is rich. Your king is affluent. Your king owns the entire earth and everything on it. He wants you to be a steward of it. He does not want you to be poor. Lack is not humility in our kingdom. Scarcity is not submission in our kingdom. Poverty is the presence of systems that are missing. Got to be responsible. If you want to be wealthy, you need to first be a manager. God never called his people to be poor. He called them to be productive. Genesis 1. He called them to be productive. Jesus, as he gave away what the kingdom was like. I gave talents away. I gave opportunities away. What did they do with them? And that's the question I'm asking you. This may have been a tough one for you to go through on YouTube, but I am so honored that you would finish it, because the kingdom has truth about money. God owns everything. Man simply manages what God owns. Access that's given to us by God, this access follows what we call stewardship. An increase now follows my competence. If I'm competent, I will have increase. Go ahead and subscribe and watch the next video.